Very important, Sensei Dymond. Hanshi Baran actually came tonight to listen.
Oh,
So you can talk shit about him all night long if you we also got Al Panecchia on here and
yeah.
superfan Pam Swino and superfan Ron Waddy. And there's Rochelle Deslippi logging in and
Hi,
Christina
Rochelle.
Randall. Yeah, and more people will sign in since the diamond. And then there's also the people that are on YouTube that we can't see. The good news is they can see us, but they can't ask us any questions. Um, Welcome everybody to Punch Kick Choke Chat. I'm one of your hosts, Randy Dauphin, and Sean Benson is not here tonight again because he's off shooting that show. I always forget the name. I blank on it. Since
Billy the Kid.
Billy the Kid. It's his
All right.
third season and his last season, I think. Unless they bring him back again. But which means we're gonna get him. I'm gonna tell him when he gets his next gig, he's not allowed to book it for Thursday nights when we do Punch Kick Choke Chat because it's far too important. Um,
Probably get shot.
Absolutely.
right. Um, and I'm joined tonight by one of our own from Legacy Shorin Ryu, Kiyoshi Michael Dymond, who's longtime friend of everybody on this show, been in martial arts for a long time. And we always start this show, Since the Diamond, with a quick question for the person that's on, and then we'll do the rest of the intros and all that stuff. But the question that I want to ask you is, you were a little bit older when you started doing martial arts. You didn't start like as a 5-year-old, a 7-year-old. You were an adult when you started. You were already out.
29.
Yeah, you were
29.
already out of university. And so the question that I have for you is, what was that like for you when you joined as an adult coming in? Was it, you've trained lots of kids too, but when you came in as an adult, what was it like? Was it more intimidating? Was it less intimidating? Um,
I think if I was intimidated at all is because I couldn't develop the flex to do the kind of kicks that I wanted to do, particularly the roundhouse, and a few of the guys I trained with could. But that's the only thing I don't think I could do. I was excited when I joined because I'd always been a bit of a fitness nut. I was a runner, and all through school I was track and field, and I had my own little regimen at home that I did 2 or 3 times a week. And when the program got started in Godrich, that I started, and I signed people up for it, which was part of my job. I was watching the first class, and I said, "Oh my God, this is great!" So I immediately joined. But I wasn't intimidated, other than the fact that I didn't have the stretch I wanted to have, and that really hasn't changed. There's some physical issues that I have that I had then, and they continue. But you sort of adapt. You do other things to make things work, which is what I think I did. But I
okay.
did. I was older when I started, but I was always what I consider to be in pretty good shape for 29. So I
And
hope that answers.
it does.
It does.
It does.
Yeah.
Were there kids in the class when you started? Were you
No,
training side
no,
by
there
side
were.
with them?
It was pretty much all adults, and I don't know why, and I might have suggested to the people that wanted me to start the program that it should be adults only, but I can't recall if that was the case. But there were no kids.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that answer and welcome everybody to Punch Kick Choke Chat. I'm joined tonight by Sensei Nicholas Suino and Hanshi Gary Legacy, two of my instructors. Suino Sensei teaches me Iaido and Sensei Legacy teaches me karate and all kinds of other things in life over the last 36 years. He's taught me amazing things that have helped me to develop into the person that I am, the good things. Any of the bad things are my own, and you can credit him for the good things. Um,
You're being you're being nice.
I'm being honest. And if we're joined tonight with Sensei Michael Dymond, who I'm going to introduce, but I'm hosting tonight. Robert's going to be ducking off. So if you do have any questions, he's going to light up the chat button down on the bottom. If you have questions for Sensei Dymond, please punch them in there. And we'll ask them unless, as Sean says, unless they're rat shit awful, then we won't ask them. We'll just leave them sitting there to collect dust until the next show. Um, but I want to introduce Sensei Dymond. And what I want to say about Sensei Dymond is he gave us a really nice bio when he sent this in, but and if I actually read the entire thing, we wouldn't have to do this show. So I'm not going to read the entire thing. Um, Sensei Dymond graduated from the University of Guelph in this area where I am in 1965, and that was in recreation admin. Uh, he worked for 30 years in municipal recreation services, followed by work with the YMCA in Chatham in leadership development. He retired in 2005. He spent 17 years down south in various places and then returned to Canada, London, and Legacy Shorin Ryu in 2024. Um, Sensei operated karate schools in Wallaceburg for 25 years, and in that general area, Godrich, Sarnia, all through there. In that time, he graduated 9 students to black belt level, and 2 are still active. The 2 being Scott Watson and Dan Whittal. And if actually, I would also say you have a next generation as well, because Andrew Percival, who is one of Scott Watson's black belts, is still active in teaching. So you got a couple of generations there
Oh,
underneath
that's nice.
Diamond. Yeah. Um, he's an author. This is one of the books. Right? Uh, he's written, it's 5 books, right, Sensei? I think that's
Four,
4 books.
4 books. Yeah.
So I'm the only one on the call who's not an author. And then when it gets to his karate bio, he started karate in 1972 in Godrich, where he was the first municipal recreations director. His first instructor was a person called Keith Ayote, I think.
I
Ayote?
think it's Ayat, just
Ayat.
Ayat. Yes.
Okay. After that, he ventured to London to visit the Warden School of Self-Defense. And if you're not aware, that's Hanshi and Sensei Pearson's old school. But the training times there and the travel from Godrich all the way there and the costs were going to be prohibitive. But whoever it was, I want to thank those people there at that school because they suggested that he find Sensei Legacy. Um, and that Sensei Legacy had a school in Stratford, and he should go check that out. And he did, and that was in 1974. Um, After that, he opened a Legacy Shorin Ryu school in Godrich under Sensei Legacy and Sensei Pearson and Sensei Ron Tyndall. And then in 1978, he moved to Wallaceburg to start a school there. It was January 4th, 1980, when he was graded to Shodan. After a number of years, Sensei Dymond returned back to Legacy Shorin Ryu. There was a little bit of a split there, but he came back. Um, for the longest time since the Dymond trained without leadership. What he did know was that when he had 1 or 2 black belts of his own, he knew that those people needed more knowledge and they needed to grow. And basically, what he did is he kicked them out. He said, "You need to go find another instructor to train with." And those people came and found Sensei Legacy, and Sensei Legacy said, "Well, what is Sensei Dymond doing? Why is he not like?" Why doesn't he just come back to Legacy Shorin? And in his own words, he said he was smart enough to listen to his students and come back to Legacy
Yes,
Shorin.
absolutely.
Yes. Um, I was actually there. It was December 17th, 2006, when Kyoshi Dymond was graded to his 7th degree black belt by Hanshi Legacy, and he's a 7th degree black belt today. And I'm just going to read kind of his words here. He says, hundreds of classes, many seminars, tournaments, and exposure to the likes of Sensei Richard Kim, Bill Hind, Anthony Sandoval enriched my karate journey and deepened my knowledge. A training adventure to San Francisco in 1976 with Sensei Legacy, a memorable journey to Japan and Okinawa in 2006 to trace steps of the past masters and train where icing's on the cake. I was there for that one. This is over and above the many students and black belts from Legacy schools I got to know over the years. All have added to my development, making the journey of a lifetime very worthwhile. I am and always will be a martial artist and a proud student of Hanshi Gary Legacy. Those are really nice words. I always like to share a couple of things. Sensei Dymond, I know I met you. You were 50 when you came. It was your 50th birthday, I think, when you actually
Well,
came.
actually, the 50th birthday was 2 days later, but there was a big party on that day, on the
Right.
Saturday. So I said, well, that's my birthday.
Okay.
So it
So
was 50.
that's when he came back. I've had some nice adventures with Sensei Dymond. As I said, we went to Japan and Okinawa together with Sensei Legacy. I think the first trip we ever took was to Tennessee together, which is where I really started to get to know you when we were down there in Tennessee. I want to share with everybody that he was talking about not having a stretch, like being able to stretch. And I remember when I was like, I don't know, 23, 24, second Dan. it was the first time I got a chance to fight with Sensei Dymond, and I was thinking, who's this 50-something-year-old guy here? I'm gonna do pretty good. And the next thing I knew, he lambasted me with a side kick in the ribs that sent me like flying across the room. And I dusted myself off and got up and thought, okay, I got to be a little sharper here. And then the next thing I knew, there was lights there, and then there weren't because just a giant black glove punched me in the face and blocked out all the lights. Um, and I would say that I think since the Diamond and I, when I was a younger black belt, had a pretty good special relationship, and he whispered a lot of things
Agreed.
in my ear over the years that helped me a lot. And I have a lot of gratitude and appreciation for him. And what I would say is there's not a lot of people I call brother, but Hanshi Dymond is one of my brothers, and I've loved him
Thank
for a
you.
long time, and I'm gonna love him forever. And I'm really proud to have you here on the show
Thank
tonight.
you.
Hanshi
Thank you.
Dymond. Thanks for coming on. Yeah. And yeah, let's go back now. So I'd really like to just ask you, you talked about how you left school, you were 20, you started this journey. Sensei Legacy was not your first instructor. So take us back to that time of when you joined, what it was like, what your first instructor was like. I know a little bit. I'm laughing because I know a little bit what it was like, but everybody on the call wants to know what it was like.
Well, I need to be fair about this. So when I started because some people asked me to start a program within the municipality of Godrich, and I started it, and I liked it very much when I first saw the registration and the people training, and I said, I'm joining. So I joined, and the instructor was extremely good technically. He wasn't very talkative, but I kind of got to know him over the following year and did some stuff with him through that coming Christmas holiday. And when we came back at the first of the year to start class again, the first thing he said to me was, I hear you're trying to take over my school. And I said, okay, I'm a white belt. I'm going to take over your school. Yeah, that's going to happen. And I didn't say anything like, you work for me, pal, regardless. And he said, get out. He got upset, very upset, and said, get out. So before I got punched in the head, because I knew that was coming, I got out. That's when I went to London to check out the Warden School, and I found out that the guy said, well, there's a guy named Gary Legacy, he has a school over in Stratford. Why don't you go there? And I did. So that's how I got in. That's how I got out of the program that I had started and into the Legacy School.
Do you remember your first interaction with Sensei Legacy? Is it in your mind when you went there by any chance?
No, I don't. Uh, no, I remember it's very disciplined lineup, and we start to do this, and if things didn't go the way, and this is funny for many reasons. If things didn't go quite the certain way, but oh, you better do 50 push-ups. And I'm sure Hanshi remembers those days when the things didn't go quite well. You do 50 push-ups. It was funny stuff more than it was anything else, but nothing specific other than workouts were hard. The basics were hard. This is what you did in the line, and we did as you all have done, millions of kicks and punches and combinations. And I don't remember anything specific. I remember the work, and that's why I went. I loved the workouts, and I still do. But the body says, "No, you're not doing that." So that's I think that would be the big thing: the hardcore discipline and workouts. The first school really didn't have, because I thought the instructor was more concerned about how we looked and how the other people learned. So it was a good move. It was a good move, and I loved the work.
Nice.
And a
Sensei
story that Sensei, that Hanshi, I told him, but he doesn't remember, I don't think. It was at a grading, and I can't remember where, but it might have been at Arnold Black's school when I was a yellow belt. I was at the grading just to attend. And as Hanshi was putting belts on all the other students that went, he just called me up, tied an orange belt on me, and I wasn't supposed to be in the grading. He just called me up. Once he told me that I had the whitest gi that anybody's ever had. So these are good things. These are good things from the past that Hanshi might not remember, but I did, because they were just wonderful things that happened to me.
Well, luckily for you, Hanshi Legacy's on the call. So,
I know I can see him and he's smiling.
Hanshi, do you remember
I
that
give,
time? Do you
I give him an
remember?
orange belt and laundry.
What do
Okay.
you remember, Sensei, about that Sarnia school? Do you or Stratford school? Sorry, was that who was there at that time with you? Were you teaching it or?
Yeah.
No,
Well,
oh, so I'm sorry. Go ahead.
yeah, I think Paul Puff was there, and another guy by the name of Dennis. That was a long time ago for
Yeah,
me.
I remember Paul Puff because he had huge feet.
Yeah.
I can see a couple of faces, but I can't come up with any names.
And was Sensei Pearson still in that school at that time?
Yeah, he wasn't. He came on occasion to the school and did warm ups with us and workouts, and occasionally he and Hanshi would spar. Um, but that's all I remember at that
And
time.
so then you go from the Stratford school to back to Godrich,
Yes.
right? And you're going to open a club now. Take
Well,
us through that.
we had the club still there, but the instructor sort of wandered off. And I had asked Hanshi Legacy if I said we got a school up there. You guys, would you send somebody up to train us? And he said, yeah. And up came Sensei Pearson, and then he stayed with us for the ensuing few years.
And who was in that Godrich school with you since the time?
Well, Ron Tyndall, if you may know Ron Tyndall, he was the guy that actually called me when I went up there in the fall of '72. He's the guy that called me and asked me if I was the guy that would put together a community program, and I said yes. And then he was training at that time, and he and I sort of trained and kept the school together through all the time that Sensei Pearson came up, and I think Sensei Legacy was up there a couple of times. That's about the only person I can remember. I can see some faces, but in terms of names, I can't come up with any. Just Ron Tyndall, and Ronnie's still up there teaching.
Well, Ron Tyndall's still in
Yeah,
Godrich.
he's not Godrich. He's Holmesville, and I think he has a club in Holmesville or Clinton.
Okay. So then you go from Godrich to where?
I went from Godrich in 1978 to Wallaceburg because I got a chance for a job there that I always wanted. So off I went to Wallaceburg. And once the program started to go there, because we had a community use of schools, and I told the person who worked for me, I said I want to start a karate program here, and we did that I think in 1980.
And so when you did that, this is a question also, like since Legacy, I want you to jump in if you have details that you can remember, please do. Um, was the kata syllabus, I know when I joined, it wasn't like fully formed yet. When I joined Legacy Shorin Ryu, there was still a couple Goju-Ryu katas people were doing, and then you went to Florida Sensei, and then you went and saw, I think, Terry Macaron to bring Ananku in and different katas. So my question to you, Sensei Dymond, is what was the kata syllabus like back then when you were training? What kind of katas were you doing? I know you're doing basics and fighting, like
But
that's
we were doing basics in fighting. Some of the upper level ones I can't remember the names of right now, but we went through the Nihonshis, of course, Pasais. Um, we might have done the names. I can't think of the one name I want to come up with. Sesong was one that was popular. And our five basic katas that we start with, um, up through I would think Wanshu. Um, I'm the names are there, but I can't pull them up.
that's okay.
That's okay. And I think where there's some katas that may not be. It may not be still in the syllabus now, as it were. We did Sesong. I already mentioned that, and at one of the camps we had Hanshi taught us Tencho. I'm not finding any more in the back of my head that I can bring forward. But if I do, I may blurt them out.
Sensei Legacy, do you remember back then what some of the other katas you were doing when you were teaching were?
Possibly Kusanku.
Yes.
Well, the thing there was also that back in my beginning time, the senseis were sort of pioneers, and they really didn't know one style. They knew a whole bunch of different katas. So we had a lot of Goju-Ryu katas mixed in with our Shotokan katas, right? So that after a while, when I looked around and wanted to do a style, I chose Shorin because there was more information on that. I could trace it back to Matsumura. So then I started my own little, my own little, I was looking, my own little search. I was looking for people who could set me straight with the Shorin Ryu style. And so that's what happened. That's why some of the katas were changed, because instead of doing the Goju-Ryu styles, I changed them for Shorin styles as I learned, uh, the actual style. So that's basically what happened. That's why he can't remember them, because they changed. It took out Seiyon Shin and different katas like that.
Yeah.
And that came from my uh, London Health and Self-Defense from Harold Warden. So,
And Benny Allen taught you Goju katas too, right, Sensei?
yes, he did.
Yeah.
He also knew Chito Ryu. He knew some Chito Ryu and Shotokan. So, like I said, the instructors in that time, there were some, but like Soroka Sensei, he knew, a complete style. But most of the people learning from those guys in those days didn't have a full style. And so I think my generation are the ones who hunted down, Goju Ryu, Shorin Ryu, Chito Ryu, Wado Ryu. So it was our generation, and basically that's what happened. We do all the Shorin katas now.
Right. Sensei Dymond, when you were teaching then in Wallaceburg, like I know firsthand, you actually you you're talking about the black belts you produced, but you amassed a good group of black belts. There were a lot of black belts in that group, and they're really high quality. How long were some of the like Rod and Buddha and like how long were those guys with you? What do you want to say about those people who joined with you and that time in your training and your leading?
The early guys that came with me initially made it through to Shodan, and we know that if you get a 500 students, they go through your school, you may get one or two that will stay long enough to make it to Shodan. The guys that made it through are the guys that did the work. They put the work in, and we all know what the work is a couple of nights a week. And they were good people. The ones that stayed and the ones that made it to Shodan were excellent students. They're not all still in it, but they were excellent students. And I think the workouts and the character required sort of weed some people out. A lot of people come in thinking it'll be a piece of cake. I'll learn this in the weekend. Can you teach me this? Give me something new. Those kind of people come in and then they're gone. Nobody really wanted to work out hard, but the people that stayed. And I think we all experienced that with our colleagues and students that we've had. If they're prepared to put the work in, they see the benefits in the long run in terms of their development in self-defense and discipline and character building. They see that and they stay. The ones that stayed are the ones that I not all of them, because we lost Rod Baker a couple of years ago. And 5 or 6 of them are on to other things in life. I think a lot of people still think that, achieving a black belt, that's it. Once you achieve a black belt, there's nowhere else to go. They don't realize that that's just the beginning. You're just being recognized now as a student of the martial arts. Now we can start to learn. A lot of them didn't think that, and if they want to reach black belt, then they got their black belt, and then they would quit and go on to other things in life. And then some just. There's a couple of people that left because of some physical issues, and they never came back, although they overcame those issues. But the students, we had a ton of students, but the ones that stayed, I'm still friends with some of them, and they made the school, and their work ethic drew some other students in, and I think that helped keep the school alive.
You know,
Hey, Sensei Dymond, before we get too far
Yep.
down the road, you mentioned Terry Macaron. I met him a few times. He saw him when he came to Tokyo once, and then met him in the Boston area. What was the experience like training with him?
Are you
you know,
I don't.
speaking?
Oh, sorry.
that was Sensei Legacy that trained with
Oh,
Terry.
I'm sorry.
Okay, yeah,
Well, then,
that's okay.
in that case, because I think, yeah, Sensei, what do you remember about Terry Macaron? How much did you train with him?
He did Shorin Ryu, Matsubayashi Shorin Ryu. He's from Long Island, New York.
Mm-hmm.
I trained with him a few times. He was a very well-learned martial artist, well-rounded, well-liked by everybody. Um, and my biggest story about him was once I reached fourth dan, and I think everybody knows out there, once you get to a fourth dan, the katas stop. I asked like 35, 40 black belts, is anybody here show me, can anybody here show me a fifth degree black belt kata? Nobody put their hand up. Because when you get to a fourth dan, you've reached the complete set of katas that you have. Because after when Funakoshi left Okinawa, he never really picked the crane up. The crane fits in there at the end. So um, I called him up and I said, look, I'm at a fourth dan. There are no more katas. What am I going to do here? He says, Gary, I think you're looking for the white crane. And he gave me a name of some persons in the south of the United States. And then I hunted some of them down, and I ended up meeting Anthony Sandoval. And because it's not about me, I'll just say that I made contact with him, worked out with him at a couple of seminars, and asked him if he'd take myself and my students into his association. And that's when we all used to go down there and train on the white crane. He was a great guy.
Yep,
Nice
yep,
man.
yep.
He's passed recently.
Mm-hmm. So I thought, yep.
Terry Macaron has passed, not Sensei Sandoval.
Right.
Yeah.
And
I got that.
cool. All right. So turning it back to uh, Sensei Dymond, want to move forward from there. Sensei Dymond, have you trained in the white crane system?
Yes,
Oh yeah.
Can you mind
yes, we
talking
do.
about that a little bit?
Um, I can. Just to back up a little bit and refer to Sensei Sandoval, when Hanshi Legacy made contact with him and he became involved with us, I think everybody would agree that it was an absolute breath of fresh air. He brought a whole new attitude into our training, and we went from very, and these are my words, some very hardcore lineal fighters to people that knew how to move, knew how to circle, knew how to use a subject's power and weight against them. I think we learned how to relax and move where we didn't move before, and that's sort of the way I think about it. We went from something very linear to something very circular, and where we developed power in a different way and applied it in a different way. Um, every time that I spent time with Sensei Sandoval, whether traveling to wherever he was or him coming up, they were just great. They were the most comfortable. He was the most comfortable person to work with, but yet you learn so much from him. Um, the way we trained wasn't stringent. There weren't demands. He just showed us stuff and we did stuff, and you learn more because you were comfortable and receptive in his classes. They weren't hardcore like we've always been, and I thought it was wonderful. I thought it was the greatest thing that could ever happen to us.
Yeah, great man. We trained together with him a lot. I want to step back to Sensei Dymond a little bit, like go back again because I said something in the intro, and I think it's pretty unusual. We might go around the horn on this, but I remember the Saturday morning that I was at the High Street complex, and Sensei Scott Watson came walking in the door, and Sensei Legacy said to me, "Go off to the." I was like a brown belt, like not high ranking. I wasn't even a black belt. He said, basically, like I'm paraphrasing, be friendly with this guy Randy and do the katas with him, and I'm gonna ask you later, like where it's at.
Okay.
And so I remember doing like the pinyans with them and doing Seisan and Hanshi, and later saying to Sensei Legacy, they're just the same as ours. Like there's not like we did everything like the same. So I find it really interesting. I don't know many instructors who, like yourself, Sensei Dymond, when somebody reaches a certain level that they would say, sorry, man, you got to go. Like, I don't got, you got to move on, move up, get another teacher. Um, that's very interesting. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. Like why you decided to do that. Was Scott the first one you did that with, or were there other people that you did that with? And why?
Well, why? Well, to me, at that point, it was clear. I was just a shodan, and I was bringing people up to that level, and I knew it wouldn't make sense for me to try to move them beyond that because I wasn't beyond that, and I knew I did tell them to go to see Sensei Legacy. I didn't kick them out of the school because they still come back and train with me. But I said, if you guys want to move beyond where I am and where you are, you got to go someplace else because I don't have that equipment right now. I don't have that knowledge. And I recommended that you go up to the Saturday classes. And then they went to the Saturday classes. And that's when I think Hanshi Legacy said, if why isn't he here? And they came back to me, as was suggested, and said, you should get your ass down there on Saturdays. And I did. Um, I didn't feel equipped because of my level to take them any further. And I thought that was the wisest thing to do, to send them somebody that could.
Man, what a moments in time. I talk about it all the time, right? Moments in time when people make
Yeah,
decisions to do things and you don't realize that the ripples that are going to spread out from that.
true. That's very true.
You know, one simple decision, a selfless decision on your part, Sensei Dymond, changed a lot of people's lives. Like everybody on this call and many, many other people, which is really cool when you think about it. And I want to ask Sensei Legacy and Sensei Suino, have you ever done that? Send somebody off to another school, but before, so you can pontificate on that for a second. Um, and I just want to say, since the Diamond's not saying, but these people who, like Scott Watson's, he's tough, man. That guy was fucking tough. He's a good fighter.
Yeah,
Gary Fuco, that
yeah,
guy is a killer, man. Super tough, really good fighter. And listen, John Buda, Rod Baker, as I said, since the Diamond, these people, all these people were good. Like they came. It wasn't like there was an integration process for you to come back. It was pretty much, in my mind, as a younger student, like you guys walked in, bowed in, and we're black belts, and we're just doing all the stuff that we were doing at the level that we were doing that. That's my take on it.
yeah.
But I'm gonna go to you first, Setsuno. Have you had students where either probably not in Iaido, but maybe like in any of the arts that where you're like, man, you need to go seek this person out. You should go do this thing. And why did you do that if you did at all?
Uh, I've had a few judo students who really wanted to compete at a higher level. In fact, I still encourage them to go to the clubs that are more competition focused than we are. Our front doors are pretty wide open, and I try to make sure we get a lot of folks in there and make it safe for them to learn judo. But if someone says, "Listen, I'm doing well in competition, I want to I want to start winning more medals, I want to grade up," then I encourage them to go to the other clubs in the area and train with more people that are more competition oriented. It's just the nature of what we do where we are. Iaido, there's not really anywhere up to go. Maybe that sounds egotistical, but I've looked. Um, and for karate, I'm on the call. There's one other guy, and he's a guy that is in Saitama, Japan. But otherwise, I'm on the call with the people that I would send folks to. So, not very often, but I have done it. The other path out is to be kicked out, and that's a different conversation.
Right. That is a different conversation. Since Lacey, how about you? I know you've had students kind of go and then come back and then go and then like because they went and did other things and then they came back. But have you ever like told people go train with this person?
That happens a lot of time when people go away and come back. Life gets in the way, so to speak. Well, not the way Mike did. But when I went and trained, I really didn't need to send them away because I brought them. I brought them to my sensei. I brought them to Benny Allen. I brought them to Sensei Sandoval. And when you opened the school in Kitchener, I was teaching in the university. I taught there 35 years. So when the people were going to leave the university, they'd come to me and they'd ask me, where can they go? How could, and instead of traveling, say from Toronto to here, I send Benson to your dojo and Justin. So, and that way I sent people to other clubs, but they're still involved with us.
I was thinking of the university Sensei and how many contacts you made for students who are going back to Germany, going back to Africa, going back to other places, and you were connecting them with dojos. I was thinking that specifically, so I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, yeah. There were a lot of people. I still sometimes get calls. Again, it's not about me, but I still get calls from France and Italy and you know, Asian countries once in a while. I get a call from students that were there.
Back to you, Sensei Dymond.
I just want to mention that I have classes for White Crane Thursday mornings. Mike is always there.
I love it.
Yeah,
I love it.
trains hard.
A question has come in for you, Sensei Dymond.
Can I say one other thing first before
It's your
we
show.
go to
You
that?
can say whatever you like.
It's important for me to mention that when I sort of kicked my students out and told them to go somewhere else, particularly to Sensei Legacy, because they could take them farther than me. And when they came to those classes on Saturday morning and you saw what they did and what they were like, and they fit right in because they knew the stuff. Well, all that stuff came from Sensei Legacy and Sensei Pearson to me, and I gave it to them. So that's where all my stuff came from Legacy and Pearson, no question.
That's what I mean. It was almost like I don't know how to say it. Like it was almost like a child that was switched at birth and then was given back. Like I don't know how else to say it, right?
I like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, so I appreciate that. I knew that, but I'm glad that you said that for people's benefit.
Without question.
I don't think that in my mind, unless I'm incorrect, it's like you were never doing a style of karate that wasn't Legacy Shorin Ryu.
That's right.
Maybe when you very first started with that first person, maybe that was something different, but I think
it was different.
moments after that were always Legacy Shorin Ryu.
Oh, absolutely. That's my foundation. No question.
So here's the question that came in. It came in from Robert, who's not on the call anymore. And he said, he recently went down and had a lesson with you, which is why he's asking this question. Where did you learn your Kabuto? And do you have a favorite weapon?
The weapons that I learned through Hanshi Legacy. Although there was Sensei Odo was up here once a number of years ago, and I was at that seminar, and I learned a Bokata and a Tonfakata. But they've slipped away because there wasn't an opportunity to practice them. But I think what I do know, I learned through Sensei Legacy, and Tonfa is my favorite. Without question. And I don't know why. I guess I feel it moves nicely in my hands. It doesn't have the weight of the sai. Although I do like the bow, but I think the Tonfa is my favorite.
So did you ever pick up? Well, you must have picked up a couple katas from Sandoval Sensei because he sometimes would teach us bow and
A kama. We picked up a couple of kama katas from Sensei Sandoval, but and I do have those tucked away somewhere on a CD, but I haven't had time to get at those. I've been trying hard to get the crane back, and then I'm going to try when that's clean and clear to get all the karate stuff back that has sort of gone, although it's still in the back of my head. So I've got my hands full, in my time full with the stuff that I want to get back before I move on to any more weapons, or any other work.
Since Lacey, you got a favorite Kabuto weapon?
No, not really. I like the swords. best, but I'm not very good at that. It's just more detail, and because of my age, I really like all the intricate. You have to be right. You can be sloppy in some of the other weapons, but you can't in the Idaho. And thanks to Sensei Suino, he allows me to come to his dojo and train.
We have way too much fun when you come down, Hanshi.
One of the best things to have.
Right?
Yeah.
You know, Sensei, do you, I've never asked you this question before. Like outside of Iaido, did you, I know you did Kyudo, but did you ever do any Okinawan Kabuto katas? Like,
Years ago in Ann Arbor, I learned a little bit of Sai, a little bit of Tonfa, a little bit of Kama. Um, I learned some Sai kata, and that's the one I got into the most. I did a bunch of fundamentals and one or two kata. I really enjoyed it. Maybe someday I'll get back to it, but nothing has ever connected like the sword, so that's why it's languished.
personally, for me, I like bow and kama. Those are my, if you, I have a lot of weapons in the dojo. If you come in, you'll, and I'm doing Kabuto, you'll probably see me doing kama or bow. Those are the ones I like. Oddly, I like kama because it's a bladed weapon. Very, very strange that a person like me would like a bladed weapon. Sensei Dymond, there is another question that was Robert put in, and we probably could go around the horn on this too because we've all had to experience this. But the question for you from Robert is, what is your advice for people who move away for whatever reasons? Like you went away because um, your wife Mary was there's a job opportunity, so that's what
Yes.
took you
Yeah.
away.
Yeah.
Um, and so, what advice do you have for people to stay connected to the martial arts? Maybe their home dojo, or find another one when you travel, or what advice would you have for people?
I, if you're going to be in another location for a certain period of time and they want to somehow stick with the martial arts, find a dojo and go out and watch. It's going to be different. It was different for me when I went to a couple of places in Arizona because I'd already been hardcore into a very disciplined system, and to go someplace and watch sort of a lack of that, it was disappointing. And I know what I would feel like if a guy came into my dojo and said he just wanted to join and maybe join and train and learn some stuff, and then I found out that he was in the sixth or seventh or eighth dan, I would be a little nervous, probably for no reason, but a little nervous inviting somebody like that to come in and join the school, because you think about, well, they're going to make some changes or suggest some changes that I don't want to do. Maybe they want to take over the school. Maybe they want to beat me up and take over the school. Those kind of things sort of come to mind. But I would encourage anybody, add to your knowledge, and if you can learn something a little different than what you've learned, you can add that to your knowledge. And as we all know, there's no best style. There's good teachers, and if you can learn something a little different and add it to your repertoire of martial arts from another teacher, then do so. So don't shy away. If it happens to be maybe even in weapons, do it if you have an interest in doing that.
Thank you, Sensei Dymond. Sensei Legacy,
Okay.
I'm going to ask you next because you've often had to train at a distance from, I think, besides Sensei Warden, I don't think any of the dojos that you trained in were like around the corner where you just got to go and train whenever you wanted. So, what advice would you give to somebody, or how did you handle that for yourself?
Feed the hunger, and you will. If you're a martial artist,
Yeah.
you'll be hungry to learn stuff. And I would drive to Sensei if I didn't have a teacher. I would drive to Ann Arbor, Michigan, to train at least once a week. Um, you can't hide your previous training. If
No.
you know somebody who came in, I taught at the university, so people came from all over the world, and some people try to lie to me and say, "Oh, I've never done martial arts before." They did two moves. I tell them what style they had been doing before. It's just, it's like if a Chinese person tried to tell me he was a white guy, I wouldn't know. You know what I mean? It's
That
just,
won't work.
yeah, it's just like, it's true, right? Because
100% true.
each style has its own language, basically,
Yes.
right? And you will find one. If you're that person, when you land, that'll be the first thing that you do is you try to get yourself back into some type of martial arts school. You know, it may not be the same style, but you get the same discipline. And what I've often said is, it doesn't matter what the external art is. We all grow the same internally. They all give you the same attributes. From your style inside, you grow internally. So if you did Shotokan, Goju Ryu, or Shorin Ryu, internally you grow the same.
Thanks, Sensei. Sensei Suino, you've obviously had uh, to Sensei Legacy's point, you lived in Japan, but we can tell you're not a Japanese person. Um, what advice would what would you what advice would you give to people who had to train at a distance, or what would you tell them?
Uh, yeah, I would say train, whatever you do, train. If you love martial arts, you don't need a dojo. It's better if you have one, but you don't need it. Keep training. And if you can find another dojo as a temporary measure, if you think you're going to end up back at your original dojo, do that too. It's a lifetime path, and I've taken a little bit of time off over the course of my years of martial arts. And honestly, I don't have any regrets, but I know I'd be farther along if I hadn't taken that time off. Um, and I have a great example of this. One of my top EIDO students of all time, Nick Miller, trained with me for, I don't know, I can't remember for sure, 4 or 5 years in Lansing, and then got a job out in California and was out there for a long time. I don't know if it was a decade, but it was a long time. And so he trained the EIDO that he learned from me then. Eventually started a school and taught a few others. Came back here. He's phenomenal, and part of it is that's who he is. But the other part is he never quit. He kept training in Iaido, and it was fascinating when he first came back for the first year or two. We had a lot of great conversations because he had interpreted things a certain way and left to his own devices. He trained and he just happened to make a lot of good decisions. So it can be done. You can become exceptional if you go away if you're still committed to that path. And so it's the number one rule for every martial artist everywhere is if you have the health and the time, run to the dojo. If you can't run, walk. If you can't walk, crawl. If you're too sick to get to the dojo at all, watch YouTube videos of martial arts. But whatever you do, do not quit.
Yeah,
I almost guarantee you're going to regret it if you do.
absolutely.
You know, I left London when I was, I don't know, I wasn't a black belt yet. I was a brown belt when I graduated from university and moved away, and I still drove back 4 times a week uh, from Kitchener back to St. Thomas in London to train. I continue to do that. The last time I checked, Sereno Sensei is not in Canada. He's 3.5, 4 hours away. And I go as often as I possibly can. So I guess one piece of advice I would give people who have to be at a distance would be um, don't like don't make barriers that don't actually exist. Like getting in your car and driving for 3 hours to get a good hour and a half or 2 hours of training with a high level instructor, that's not wasted time. That's
No,
not wasted
no,
money. You should do that. Like you should do that and you should value that time to be in your car and doing that thing and make it part of the training. Benson and I used to travel down to see Sensei Legacy. We made it part of the training. We talked about it, martial arts on the way there. We trained when we were there, and we talked about martial arts on the way back. So, and Robert is the one asking this question. He's always been in this community, but I would say, and he might not even remember. I remember when he was about, I don't know, 12 or 13 years old. His parents came to me and said, "We're moving to Waterloo. Can you recommend another karate school for him?" And I mean, you might as well have pulled my heart out of my body and like thrown it on the ground and stepped on it. But I didn't cry. I gave some suggestions. Um, and then a couple weeks went by, and one day I walked in the dojo, and he was there in the dojo, and I looked out, and his mom Mariana was there, and I said, they're Czech, by the way, so I'm gonna do a horrible Czech accent. I said, Mariana, what's going on? And she said, Robbie, he cry every night. I want Sensei Randy. I want Sensei Randy. I want to go back to my dojo. So we bring him back. And then that kid, as soon as he was like 16, he rode his freaking bicycle from northern Waterloo all the way down into the south end of Kitchener, like 30, 45-minute bike ride, and didn't miss classes, came all the time. So again, when I say don't let a stupid thing like distance and time, if you have wheels, get your ass to where you got to go. Obviously, since the Diamond, you can't because you're in Arizona, but we still saw you. Like I
Yeah,
came to town, I still saw you. I have pictures with you. When I went to Arizona, we went out with you, I, and Mary. Like it's not like there was ever, Sensei Byron was going down there. Fuko would go down there and visit you. You were never really estranged from the dojo. You were just living in a different place.
true. And many times coming back, it was Scott that kept me in the loop. Scott Bowen, and I would come up to the morning classes when I had a chance to come back to London. So, no, I never left. I never left. I just kind of moved away. It was a 16-year hiatus. I didn't really leave. I didn't leave the art at all. And can I make a couple of more comments on the travel thing? Um, it wasn't a choice that I made to go south, but when we were there, I checked out a couple of other clubs that I didn't end up going with. But what I did do, because I had an interest in it, I joined a Tai Chi and did that for 2 years. And the guy that taught Tai Chi, he shared the dojo with a Hapkido instructor. And I went into that dojo once a month and rented the space for 2 years and put on my gi and took in my book of katas and stuff. And I did my thing, which I had to do to retain what I had was thinking I might lose. So the travel thing, you can find a place to train without question. And just one more other thing, a number of occasions over the years, Hanshi has said, if you want to learn and grow, you've got to travel. You've got to travel. If you don't want to travel, then you're not going to learn and grow in the art because there's more out there than what you're getting here. And that's true.
Love this discussion. And it has spurred more questions since the Diamond have come
Okay.
in. So Christiana Landolt, who she probably can relate to this discussion a lot because she trained with me and in Legacy Shorin for a long time. And then she moved away to Ottawa, right? She moved away for school and stayed up there. And then actually one of the blessings of the pandemic was that people started teaching on Zoom.
Mhm.
And now she's back. She's back in the fold. She started training on Zoom, and then now she drives down here. She just came all the way down and competed in the Matsumura Challenge. So again, like
Uh-huh.
if you have a good teacher, and
Yeah,
she asked me, "Is it okay if I train with Ben Ledesseur? Could I maybe check out Jean-Yves Theriault?" And of course, I said, "Of course." Like I'm jealous. I
absolutely.
wish I could go train with those people. I would go train with those people if I can, but. So she asked this question, Sensei
Okay.
Dymond. And again, this is one that I might punch to Sensei Legacy or Sensei Suino as well. Um, with all your years in martial arts, what would be the one piece of advice that you would give to a white belt starting their journey? And then what is one piece of advice that you would give a Shodan starting their black belt journey? So, when you come in the dojo, what's one piece of advice you would tell a brand new student? And then somebody who gets their Shodan, what is the thing you would whisper in their ear, Sensei Diamond?
Wow. Um, I think with the white belt, um, we ask a lot. We ask a lot of a new student, and sometimes we ask them to do this stuff a certain way. I think if you can help that new student find out a way to get to where you want them to go, I don't know. I can't This is a bit of a clumsy example, but if and I've had this with white belts and with higher belts and that I them commenting about I hate push-ups. I hate push-ups. I can't do push-ups. I just hate them because I can't do them. And I would recommend to that person, okay, well, this is how I want you to do the push-ups, and I would show them how I want to do the push-ups. And I would say, you go home and you do one a push-up every day, the way we just did it now, just one every day, do no more, just one every day for a week. And end of that week, starting the next week, do 2 of those every day. At the end of a few weeks, that person would have picked up the push-up and figured, well, gee, I can do them. Quite often they ask too much of themselves. They come in and you're doing stuff and they work harder than they need to work to begin with, and they get tired and scared and worn out, they don't come back. So I think if you can find a way to get little successes on the route, then you can keep a student. In terms of a showdown, I don't know. It's hard to say. I think this is from my perspective. If I was grading someone to black belt, I would say to you, you've now arrived. You've now been accepted by your peers as being an honest to goodness, interested student of the martial arts. And this is where the learning starts. And try to be very, very positive with them and ask them to do things to demonstrate, because one of the final steps in learning something is teaching it to somebody else. I think I would give them all kinds of opportunities to lead and teach and encourage them on that basis, and then be critical in a positive way of their work to sort of encourage them along. And I think they find out over the years they would be training between going up through the 7Q levels, that they have an idea of what they're going to be up against when they get to that level, and more is going to be expected of them to learn and grow in the art. That's about all I have to say on the showdown and the white belt.
I think that resonates with me. Suno Sensei, do you take that question and run with it? Or those questions? White belt, showdown.
So many white belts are really, these days, it seems to me, are pretty much doing what I would hope they do. They come in, they're enthusiastic, they have a lot of questions. They're nervous, but they're curious and anxious to learn. In that sense, we're blessed. We have really, really eager white belts coming in. That's exactly what I would hope for them. Maybe it's just the atmosphere at JMAC, but the caliber of people that come to JMAC for classical martial arts seems really high. I suspect a lot of the folks that just want to get into banging right away are probably going to MMA clubs and things like that these days. So we don't get them, and we get them occasionally, but and some work out with us really well. But that open-minded curiosity, I think, is wonderful. It carries people a long way, and if they can carry that all the way to Shodan, man, amazing, because they'll learn. We just promoted 2 guys in judo to Shodan who are both hardworking guys, very positive attitude. They are open-minded, always receptive to learning, and very helpful. And that's one thing I would say, and I think Sensei Dymond, you made this point, that the ultimate expression of your learning in a new technique is to be able to teach it. And at JMAC, we always say that at JMAC, the ultimate act is the act of service, is that we help others. And the folks that are around Shodan, you want to qualify for Shodan at JMAC, you want to earn the right to continue to wear that at JMAC. That's all about service, coming in positive, training hard, yes, being a tough ass, but at the same time, helping everybody in the dojo learn. So to me, those characteristics are really important.
Love it. Sensei Legacy, white belt, showdown.
White belts. A couple of things when you go into it. Well, I'll start somewhere else. Okay, choose a classical dojo, because they have all the information that leads back to the people who invented them. You just pick some guy who started something. He only has his knowledge. Classical martial artists, I have some knowledge from Matsumura, Itosu, Funakoshi, my senseis, Richard Kim. It's all passed on, right? And then even the senseis of today put their bit in. They discover stuff. So classical dojo is always a good way to go. Do your homework before you put your children, or if you're an adult before you put your life in somebody's hands. And when you go in, don't look at how good the instructor is. Look at how good the students are, because you're not going to be that instructor in that dojo. You will be a student in there, and then see how they look. What interested me in the first dojo I went in was John Pearson. I went and sat down. There was about 40 students, and there was this yellow belt. He looked better than everybody else. So I knew that you could get that from that dojo. And when you go in with an open mind. Don't tell the sensei the little bit that you know. Listen to what he's going to tell you, right? And for a black belt, again, if you're going from my dojo and you're a black belt, if you're going to another dojo or somewhere else, open your mind. You know, it's like I said before, you're going to learn new things, and learning takes place from the inside out. It's not like playing a sport. Just because you're good at hockey doesn't mean you're going to be good at basketball. They're different things. But martial arts will make you grow from the inside so that you, as a person, can play both as best as you can. Martial arts is a different animal. It's for the body, mind, and spirit. So,
Thank you.
Advice.
For me, the things I would chime in on is for a white belt, I would say along the same lines as Sensei Dymond, take your time, please. Like don't ask questions like when will I? To me, that's a bad question for a white belt to be asking, right? When will I be a yellow belt? When will I be able to fight? When will I be able to do my kata? Just come in and just train. The answers are going to be on the mat. Just
Yeah.
come to the dojo as much as you can and then do all those other things. Um, in Legacy Shorin Ryu until, I don't know, I think I was the first crop of people, Sensei, that you made change their black belt to a black belt with a red stripe on it when you were a fourth and a fifth dan. But for a while, I was a fourth dan with just a black belt, like just plain black belt. So what I always say to Shodans is what Sensei Legacy says: you're not actually as good as you think you are, and and remember, you're going to get treated the same way. You're going to wrap that black belt around your waist, and you're going to step on the floor, and there's going to be people on that floor that are wearing the exact same black belt as you, but they might have like 30 years knowledge over you. So remember your place. Remember that you're a Shodan, and don't live in the glory of wearing a black belt with all the other people who are like way down the road. Continue to work, get down the road with them. That's what advice I would give them. Another question came in, Sensei Dymond, and this question came in from a person who I know is one of your very best friends, one of my very best friends too, another person from Legacy Shorin Ryu, and it came in from Hanshi Scott Barron. And I'm sorry, Hanshi Barron, I'm going to change the question a little bit because I think we've actually touched on a lot. Like people can't see the questions in the chat, only we can see them. So
Okay.
his question is similar to Christiana's question. And it says, at 80 plus, still carrying a passion and practice consistency, what message would you have for a martial artist? And I'm going to say not necessarily young and old, but of more of your vintage. For the older martial artists, what to maintain that passion and keep it going? What's advice that you would tell them? Because things change, right?
Oh, they sure do. And I think one of the things is you can probably do a lot of things you used to do, but you might have to find another way to do it. You may have to tone down your goal so that your efforts aren't hurting you. You got to find another way. You can do what you were doing before, but just a little differently, not as hard, not as fast. just don't quit. I think that would be the thing. Don't quit. Just stick with it. And you'll find out. You don't expect too much of yourself. The expectations I had of myself at 25 are a little different now at 81. So, but you can still do all the stuff you did before, but just a little differently in a different way. The thing is, don't quit. If you're alive and you can stand up and you can move and you can eat, keep training, keep training. And the people that you train with will recognize that. Your sensei will recognize that. The fact that you're there is it should be enough, and you're doing the best you can.
Uh, Sensei Dymond, one thing I'm just curious on your thoughts on this part of it, because I think the community you're with, it helps people of whatever it, like, you always have trudging partners, right? Like, that's what Benson says. Like, there's
Mhm.
people like Scott Watson is one of my trudging partners, right? We were like, and you still have your trudging partners. You go on Thursday morning. That must be helpful too, right? Is to be around people that you've been around for 30 plus years doing this thing. That has to be a little bit motivating, is it not?
Oh, definitely, because everybody's got their own struggles, and they're working through them. And if you can be a support system simply by being there in person, that's got to help. That's got to help. There are people I'm comfortable with. There are people that I absolutely love. I've been working out with them for a long time. I'm happy I'm back. I was sad that I left. I think just being there is the important thing, and not going is it's just no good. It's just no good. Just being there, I think, is a step in the right direction. Once you're inside that dojo door and you see people doing a lot of stuff with enthusiasm, and because they love it, then you just get in there, and everybody knows that there's certain way you can do things and they can do things, and nobody's going to laugh at you and point. Well, it's the guys we hang with, sometimes we laugh and point, but that's for very different reasons. Just be there. Just be there. And it doesn't matter how old you are. If I can still do this in 10 years, um, that's wonderful. I've lived a wonderful life and worked with some great people. Just being there. Just go. Just go.
Sensei Lacey, what do you want to say about that question? I think I'm going to skip you, Sensei Sereno, because you're not old.
Who's the guy who played Dirty Harry?
Clint Eastwood.
Clint
Clint
Eastwood.
Eastwood. This is Clint Eastwood's line. He was on a talk show one night, and the guy says, "How do you keep going all the time?" He said, "Don't let the old man in."
Good.
And
I
that's
like that.
that's
Don't let the old
yeah,
man in.
yeah.
Yep.
So you just have to keep active, but you don't let the old man in. The mind is still growing. You need to feed that too,
Absolutely.
and you've got a lot in you now that it's time to give back. That's how martial arts stays. That you've got a lot of knowledge that's forgotten by other persons, even myself, that is inside of you that needs to come out. And so you have to give back. That's how we show our gratitude.
That's right. That's right. Absolutely.
So just to say that, and the other day I was sitting at the kitchen table after with my wife, and I had just my knee is swollen up from the long weekend doing Iaido. I said, I'm starting to think maybe it's time for me to maybe step aside a little bit. Maybe I should. No, being a martial artist in some cases, and I'm only saying this because she did, is something like being a priest. You can't quit something like that side of you,
No,
and other people
that's a good
need.
analogy. Good
Yeah,
analogy.
you need to give back, right? So
Yeah.
that's for the guys who fit into that category.
Yeah. It's
I'm
it,
not.
it it's a part
Well,
of your life. It's a part of you. You don't quit.
I will say for me, like, I find both of you very inspiring. Like, and it gives me a lot of hope in martial arts too. And yourself as well, since I've watched you evolve your Iaido. As I said to you, over the pandemic, I've watched it change and get better. Like, I find all of you very inspiring. For me, like, gives me a lot of hope in martial arts to be able to know I'm still going to be able to be productive, know that I'm still going to be able to be high functioning, and know as I know of Sensei Legacy and Sensei Dymond, that I'll still be able to kick somebody's ass if they mess around with me. So you guys give me a lot of inspiration, and thank you for doing that. Um, Sensei Dymond, it's 9:40. The time is flying by.
Yeah.
And at 9:40, we always give people their 10 questions. And
Ooh.
everybody gets the same 10 questions. And we ask you to answer as impulsively as you like. But also you can expand if you want. But we're going to give you 10 minutes to answer these 10 questions. So then at the end of the 10 minutes, the only way we extend it is if one of us starts stepping on you and taking your time away. So we're going to give you 10 minutes. Don't feel pressured to answer all 10. We'd like you to. And everybody else has. No pressure.
Oh,
But Sensei Strino and I are going to go back and forth, Sensei Dymond, on this and ask you these questions. But first, I got to get my timer ready.
I'm being timed.
Yeah, we're official. 10 minutes. Yeah, this is official. And
It's like a fight round.
yep.
Time fight.
Here comes the first question. I think I know the answer. What is the most effective move in your martial arts arsenal?
My most effective move was the sidekick.
I know. As I said, he knocked me across the freaking dojo.
No, I'm not sure it's as good now as it once was. But when I get a new knee, if I get a new knee soon, then maybe it'll change.
It was one of those kicks that you knew was coming. And you're like, I'll be able to block it this time. Nope. I'll be able to block it. Nope. Anyway, sorry, since you're next.
Who is the most influential martial artist in your life?
In my life, Hanshi, no question.
Nice.
No question.
Again, another easy answer. He's gonna get through this. We got to change these questions for him.
I'll throw some curves in there.
Yeah. This one will be maybe different. Who do you think, Sensei Dymond, is the most influential martial artist of all time, and why? Sensei Legacy will probably like it if you say him again, but pick somebody else.
Influential, and this can come from any environment,
Any era, any country,
any environment, any era. The most influential
of all time, and why?
Wow. Wow. There's a couple of people come to mind, and they came at it a little differently, but they reached a lot of people. Certainly, the TV series Kung Fu reached a lot of people and brought this sort of the spiritual side into it, which I like very much. Jackie Chan, he brought a light side of it, and the influence through his movies. Maybe Bruce Lee, from a hardcore training fighting perspective. He probably was one of the most influential. So I would, if I was going to rank those three, I would probably put Bruce Lee first, because there isn't anybody out there that's anywhere related to a martial art that doesn't know that name and what he's done. So that would be my answer. And if I was going to put him in order, it would be probably Bruce Lee, the guy in Kung Fu, Kane, and Jackie. They've just they sort of they faced the world, and a lot of people saw the art in a little different perspective and may have created an interest in them.
Sure. Sensei Dymond, what excites you most about the next 5 years of your martial arts training?
What excites me most, the fact that I can get to a class on Thursday morning and iron out all the wrinkles in my white crane and get all the bunkai down that I need to learn. And once I've successfully got through that, can I get through the karate stuff that I learned over the years? And I think from white to black, there was 16 cat, and I want to get those all back. So that excites me. What excites me in a broader sense is that I think I will be able to do that physically. So I'm excited about the fact that I'm here, I'm back, I'm going on Thursday mornings. And if I can get to other classes, once I've got a new knee, because I can't do the stuff I want to do in a harder class, maybe I never will, but it excites me, the fact that I can and I want to.
Oh, it's me.
It's you.
Enjoying the answer so much. If Sensei Dymond, if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you get there?
Mm. It's about time. We've been waiting for you.
Great answer.
When were you going to get here?
You've been a very naughty boy. Come here, I want to talk to you. Welcome, I guess. Welcome with a little knowledge about who I am, where I've been, and what I've done, and that it's not been all bad.
I don't know, Sensei Dymond. You sound a little. It sounds like the ratio might be a little off. Not my decision to make, thankfully. Do you have a favorite film or television martial artist, whether they're a real martial artist or not?
Favorite.
Or give us a few, 2 or 3.
Yeah, well, there's certainly the 3 that I mentioned. I wish there was an opportunity to see more of Bruce Lee, but obviously we can't. I can't come up with anybody else. I guess I'd have to. The favorite to watch, the favorite to sort of learn visually from. Maybe Jackie Chan.
Okay, next question. Do you have a martial artist, living or dead, of all time that you would like to train with, and why?
Living or dead that I'd like to train with. Actually, I would like to. I would like the opportunity to train more with Sensei Sandoval because of how he brought everything to us. I mean, he took the hardcore seriousness out of it, but made it lovable and easy to learn. Not easy to learn, but he was receptive, and it made you feel a little more receptive about what he was teaching. So if I could spend some more time with him, I would love to do that, because he opened some eyes when he became part of our world, and I love that. Didn't have enough time with him. None of us have had, but I think that would be the name, because that would be more of a reality to me than the others.
Amazing.
Cool. Next question. This is question number 8. If everyone in the world could have the greatest benefit that you've gotten from martial arts, what benefit would that be, whether they train or not?
I've said this to other people in different situations. I think that in my professional career, what I did for 30 years, my training in the martial arts gave me the character and the ability and the patience and the leadership to do that job. I think if I hadn't been training in the martial arts and I still had those jobs for 30 years, it wouldn't have been as good. I wouldn't have been as good. It gave me patience, it gave me character, it gave me a calmness, gave me all the stuff you need if you're in a leadership role, training and leading people. They gave me all that, and that would be it.
Leadership. Love it.
Yeah.
So the last 2 questions, Sensei Dymond, you're doing great here. You got
Thank you.
30
So I'm
seconds.
going to get 100%.
You're going to get 100%. I can already tell. The last 2 questions come as a pair. What would you, it doesn't have to be martial arts, but it can be martial arts. What would you consider to be your greatest achievement, and what also is your greatest regret?
Greatest achievement. Well, I, 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 I think they go together. I think one of my, well, I have 3 regrets, but I'm only going to deal with one. I didn't. I have a wonderful daughter who's she's 56. Jesus, that I didn't spend enough time with when she was younger, and that's one of my major regrets. What was the other part to the question?
Achievement.
Achievement. Oh, I think joining the martial arts and what I learned and what that's done for me, I think that's my greatest achievement. And how I passed that on to some other students. No question.
1 minute and 4 seconds to spare. 10 questions.
Okay, how about 11 questions?
Oh, that's good. We don't like it when people answer in like 3 minutes, and we had to put a timer on it since it's Dymond because
Okay. Because some people go on and on and on.
you ask them the first question, and then an hour later, like the show is done, right?
They sound like the conservative candidate. They're going to drone on until they pass out.
Hey, this is a non-political show here. We're not
I know it's
talking
not.
about any of that stuff. We have Americans and Canadians on this show. Friends. So we're gonna have to wrap it up soon, Sensei Dymond, because we're down to the last 10 minutes. But
Yeah.
I'd like to open it up to you with so I have two questions, but one is any thoughts you have. We often don't shine light on the people in Legacy Shorin Ryu here, but I know you're really close with some of them. Who are some of your best friends in Legacy Shorin Ryu and those people and that you love training with and you've trained with a lot?
Well, I don't know that I've trained with Sensei Bauer any more than I've trained with others, but he went out of his way to keep me in the loop when I was down south, and we did some stuff on Zoom when you guys were all dealing with COVID. So he's very important to me in that respect. He kept me in the loop, and I appreciate that very much. Was there a second part of that question?
No, I just wondered if you want to talk about any people like Bear or like people
well,
that you
okay.
train with often.
Scott Brown stands out, but Bear, Scott were a couple of the first guys I met. Scott Watson, Gary Fiocco, who I'm sad to this day that he didn't continue to train. Rod Baker, he was a solid student. He was one of these students that was like, what do we do now? What do we do now? What do we do now? And whatever I wanted him to do and how I wanted to train, he would do it without question.
That's what I should have done with you, Sensei
Legacy,
Dymond. I should have
Pearson,
done.
Those two have been my rock in martial arts. I suspect getting to know some people in the Thursday morning class, I can name all of them. Jim and I drive pretty much every Thursday now.
Got my black belt with that guy.
Yeah, did you?
Yeah.
I'm going to miss somebody here.
How about kettle chicken?
Kettle chicken?
Kettle burger.
Oh, yes. He and I slept together in Japan, so he's my friend forever.
There's a story there.
Again, this is a family-friendly show.
Well, he's a family guy. I'm a family guy. We share a room, and I got to know him, and I didn't know him before that. I got to know him, and I absolutely adore him. No question. So he's meant a lot to me, and I know if I ever needed anything, he'd be right there. And Danny Whittal, who's not with us anymore in the system, but Danny was a kid I'm very proud of because he stayed and he's still training. There's 2 or 3 others that I brought up to Shodan that are no longer training, and that's sad because they had a lot to offer. But life gets in the way sometimes, and you move in other directions, and you have no choice but to quit. But does that answer?
Yeah.
Well, I can't. I'm looking at you, so you're one of them without question.
So on that note, Sensei, what I want to do before we go around the horn is, Sensei Legacy, I'd like you to talk about Sensei Dymond's wedding that we were both at, Sensei Kettleburger, and maybe something funny that happened with the 3 at the end. I'd like you to.
Oh dear.
Well, are you talking about his chair?
Yeah.
Oh, the chair.
He's a Toronto fan. I'm a Montreal Canadian fan, so we always rib back and forth and everything.
Yeah.
So to come to the outdoor part of it, he brings oh no, that was Kettleburger, wasn't it? That was Kettleburger. Oh. Yeah. Okay, sorry, I got 2 guys mixed up there. So I can't really remember. I'm sorry, I can't remember any.
Well, he had a rental toilet for us,
Yes.
right? Because there was his wedding. He didn't want
Yeah.
traipsing through his house.
Yeah. Glover
Sensei
didn't want that.
Legacy,
Yeah.
Sensei Legacy took Sensei Kettlebreaker's chair and put it on top of the crapper, and then
Yes.
he couldn't find it until eventually, like Sensei Dymond pointed it out on top of
I
the
have
commode.
pictures. I have pictures.
So I want to share one funny story, Sensei Dymond, that involves only you and I experienced this, and we were in Okinawa. And Hitoshi wanted to go out and sing karaoke. So a bunch of us decided that we were going to go out and sing karaoke with them. And we went to this bar where the people sent us there. Now, granted, we can't speak Japanese. So we show up, and I don't know if you remember Sensei Dime, but there's an elevator on the sidewalk, and everybody went up except for you and I. We stayed down because it was too full.
Okay.
And then came back down and we got on. And I don't know if you remember, but as you and I started to get off of the elevator, there was a big TV there, and there was some really weird stuff. And Sensei Kettlebreaker and everybody was pushing us back onto the elevator, and we went back down because it was a bar only for locals, and I don't know, not us. Like the I'll share that the person on the TV was like bent over a table and somebody was paddling them from behind. And so that's my funny story of so you talk about all the training we do together, but we have these funny experiences when we're friends and you train
Oh
together.
yeah. And we don't all remember them in the same way. I remember some funny stuff there. I remember karaoke, and I remember not doing it because I don't like to do it. Yeah, okay.
So sadly, Sensei Diamond, time is real, as Benson says. And what we do now is we go around the horn
Okay.
and we share some thoughts on our time with you. And we give the last word to you. And when you give the last word, then we're gonna kill the feed. Before we go around the horn, I we always want to thank the people on the show that help us with this show. And I don't have my document open, and now I do. No, I don't have my document open. So we want to thank these people: Robert Schlumsky, Andrei Sedshev, Justin Shea, Josh Kitchens, Daniel J. Holland III, Christiana Landolt, Emily Drew Driscoll, and the two people I forgot to thank last week were Dridi and Stavros Stravulius, who those people help us on the show. You can help us on the show by liking, sharing, subscribing, putting a comment. Hey, listen, we don't even care. The comments could be terrible. It all helps our
Oh yeah.
algorithm. We
Yeah.
don't care if
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
positive or negative. Just please put the comments on there because it's going to help us get to the top of the algorithm list.
Okay.
Sensei Legacy, what do you want to say about our time tonight with Sensei Dymond?
What are you gonna say? Uh, uh, he's a good student, Mike. You're a good student, and you've got a lot of charisma, and it's just part of Legacy Shorin Ryu. But he's also a very intent worker. When he gets down, we start training. There isn't all this laughing. And so I guess it's going to be great having you on the show. I'll see you next Thursday morning.
So, thank you.
Sensei Dymond, what do you, or it's not Sensei Dymond, Sensei Suno, what do you want to say about our time with Sensei Dymond?
Man, this was fun. I got to say, this is one of the closest conversations we've had to the original idea of this show, which is just, four martial artists sitting around a table or sitting in a car somewhere having a conversation. It just seemed like that was it. Nobody's trying to peddle any particular point of view, just sharing ideas. Feels super authentic to me, and for that, I'm super grateful. Thank you so much, Sensei Diamond. Can't wait to
Very
see you.
welcome.
Can't wait to see you at a conference, an event, or on the dojo floor soon.
Yeah, Sensei Dymond, I write down lots of stuff. I knew you were going to say sidekick. Like I knew you were going to say that because my ribs are still not the same. Uh, I usually write down all kinds of stuff, but I didn't this time just because I know you so well. I was just enjoying listening to you talk. Um, I'm really grateful for our rich history together. When I was not a black belt and you were a person who always helped me. And I want to say thank you to you for that. I want to thank you for coming on the show, but I really want to thank you for always being a person who helped me. I meant what I said. I'm very inspired by you. Um, I was inspired by you then, and I'm still inspired by you. And I guess the final thing I say before I give it back to you is I spent some time today thinking about our relationship. First time I saw you and all the training, fighting we've done together, traveling together. Um, I can honestly say I have no bad memory, no bad thought, no bad comment. For 35 years, I've never felt weird to be in your presence. I've always been excited to see you. I've always had fun with you. And you're just an awesome person, Sensei. And I love you so much, and I'm so proud to know you and be in this world with you, traveling this path together. So thank you for coming on the show tonight. And the final word is going to go to you, Sensei.
Being on the show was a surprise and an absolute pleasure. Every one of you that I spent time with over the last 30, 40 years have enriched my life. Unbelievable. And I think you can't put a finger on the contributions individuals made, but when I speak of what karate has done for me in the professional side of my life, you guys have all contributed, no question, because everybody deals with situations in a different way, but they always kind of have the same goal to come out of it not so much smarter, but more knowledgeable, a little more wisdom that we can pass on to our friends and our students. So everything you said about me, I would repeat to you and the others as well. It's just been, I'm sorry, I don't know Nick that well and have not spent that much time with him, but I'm sure just feeling the vibe that he would be in the same class. It's just been awesome. I can't say anything more than that. My 50 years of over that has been wonderful training. There's been ups and downs, there's been frustrations, and there's been bruises, but that's all part of the game. That's part of life. You trip and fall, you pick yourself up. That's called learning, growing. So it's been wonderful. Thank you so much for inviting me on, and I've enjoyed this. I was a little more nervous than I thought I was going to be, dealing with people that I kind of know, and I didn't try to anticipate any questions, but it was wonderful. Simple as that. Wonderful.
Thank you so much, Sensei. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me.